Okay, now in this lecture, we are going to send back in the request the real data which we get from the API as I showed you before from the documentation. So for that, we need a profile of a specific crypto. So for that, we are going to use the same way how we did with the WebSocket. So I used Axios, I passed like URL and then with the headers with API key, and then I made then and all of this information. So for that, we can copy all of this part here, like Axios get process env list URL and also with the header. So we can put it as well here. So now we have .then, like when we get data, so we can say response data, and then let's put it as a response data, and then we will have the response data inside then. Also, we will have catch to catch some specific error. Let's pass the same error message here. So we can put it as well. So I am going to have the same catch here. Maybe we can add as well with the error some field which will show the details of the error. So we can have here that something like, can put error details. So we can pass the error itself. So we will have here the error instead of having it in the console log. So it will be showed in the API as well. So here are the response data. We need then to send the response as a response with the response data. So for that, I will cut that part and paste it here, and then I will pass the response data itself, which I got from the API request using Axios. But as you see here, we are using something called list URL. And in the list URL, as you see, if we go to the env file, we have this link. But this link, I don't need it for getting detail of crypto. I need another link. And this link, as you see, we used this one. So we have here data Messari IO, and we have asset, and then we get the profile. So let's copy that part here and we put it instead of this API or list URL. So I will put it instead of that. So we can have here the quotation, and also I will have the asset key passed here. So instead of having normal quotation, we can use backticks and then pass some parameters between. So here we have crypto ID, which we got from the user as an API parameter, as you see here. And then I am going to say here like $, and then I put curved brackets, and here I will say the crypto ID, which I got from the parameters. So in that way, I pass the value inside this string. Of course, we are going to refactor this to not have all the URL later. So just now, let's try that. So in the response, I am going to have response.json and with the response data. But here, as an error, we are not going to emit it to the WebSocket. We need to have as well response.json. So do you see the difference? We have here, like we are passing the data through like as a response one time or to the WebSocket. So this is the difference between the API and the WebSocket. So as a quick overview, we got the ID and then we used Axios exactly how we did before using our API key. So here our API key is protected. So everybody who can access this URL will get only like some data, but without knowing what is our API key. So for that, we have the data passed and we get it as a response, and we will send it as a JSON to response of that API. Because here we have the API response and we are going to pass that. In case there is an error, I am going to send that error also through the API with also some error details. So let's save that, go to our API. Okay, I am going to pass some valid Bitcoin. So we can have here ID from our WebSocket, this one, and go again to our API request. I will put a slash, and then I will pass that ID of that coin. So when we send request, okay, we got an error. And this error says error fetching prices data, and the error detail is empty. So let's check what is going on here. So the error actually that we are using the response data. So we are using the response data from Axios directly. So if you remember, we were passing response.data because Axios always encapsulating the data which are coming from the server inside the data object, as we saw in the console log before. So here, instead of that, I am going to have .data. So we try again, and we send a request, as you see here, and okay, we got the data in the right way, which are coming from the API of Messari API. To have more good validation about JSON data in the server, you need as well to add sometimes like a method, or how to say, a middleware, we can call it. This middleware, it will be in the middle when you are sending the request and before it goes to the server. So in this way, when the user click on send request, something should be executed, checked, and then when the response comes from the server, something should be executed and be checked, and then sent back to the client as a response. So this is called a middleware. To create a middleware or to pass a middleware, you can use app.use. And with app.use, you can then pass something called express.json, which is a method which helps that, okay, says that my application is handling the data as a JSON. So in this way, you verify, or you can define the connection of data types between the type of data between the client and the server, and you say, okay, we are going to communicate with JSON between the front end and the back end as well. So let's try that again to make sure that everything is working fine. Nice. So we have the data. It has two fields. One is called status and the other is called data. So we can pass as well only the data. Let's do that. So I will go here again and I will say that, okay, don't pass for me only like response.data, but response.data data again. So we save, we send a response or request, and then we will get all the data which we can display in the front end, as I will show you later. So in that way, we created our API. So let's go now do some small refactoring, like we can put this API URL somewhere also in the environment variables, and then we can pass only that URL. So we can put this part as API URL, or we can say base URL. So I will call here not list URL, but I will use base URL. So this base URL will be this one. And then, okay, I will pass here in my application that I don't want anymore this URL, but I will say here that pass for me the process.env and then base underscore URL. So in that way, we have less code and more readable content. So we will have here send again the request. Okay, we got the data in the same way as we passed before. So this is like a quick refactoring. Of course, you can refactor that one with list URL, so you can just use that part and then you pass the fields. So it's up to you. I am showing you all the cases so you can learn how to organize your code in a good way.